Well, hello there, YouTube. It's Thursday, August 10th, 2023, and I've got another video for you. Today, I'm going to recondition the exhaust manifold. This has taken a few weeks to get to this point, and the reason is because there's some parts, those little clamps right there, and then what's behind there, for example. You know, I even contacted the SL shop, and they basically told me good luck. That's what this video is about. You know, it's a long time coming because you won't believe all the obstacles that I ran into. I just want to get this video started. You know, it's getting really hot. Actually, we're having a cool down today. I think it's going to be 108. Yeah, so it's a cool down. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Tony, and this is TonyLiveTV. And I'm rebuilding my 1987 560 SL. I've taken every single nut and bolt apart in this vehicle. And now I'm putting it all back together, and we're working on the engine right now, and we're hoping to get this done. All right, you guys, let's just get this video going. I'll catch you on the next one. So this is the right-hand side exhaust manifold. I want to recondition this. I'd like to clean this all up, maybe sandblast it and paint it. The first thing I have to do is take this apart. And then I saw this. There's two of them on the left-hand side and there's one of them here on the right-hand side. They do have a parts explosion in the manual, but it doesn't tell you what any of those components are. And those little rings right there, I was thinking, wow, what if those are asbestos type, like brake material? They could take the extreme temperatures, and they also compress nicely, right, when you use those compression rings. But I couldn't find it. I mean, I found a so-called kit, and it was $75 or something, and then didn't show anything as far as being able to purchase anything in there. And I think, oh my gosh, well, what if I break this seal, you know, and I can't get some ring? I asked around everybody I knew, you know, Peter. I didn't ask Tassos, only because, you know, I know that this is not the kind of vehicles he works on, you know, and I go, gosh, everybody, I posted in the forums and everybody said, no, I never took that apart. You can see this is in pretty good shape, really. Completely faded color, but there's no real major rust. It says, I'm gonna post on the forum at the R107 forum on Facebook. Carl was the first one who jumped in and he says, yeah, he's taking that apart. He's put it back together and never had any leaks, no problem. And then another guy, Danny, jumps in and says, yeah, I did it. I took it apart, but the manual, you know, shows those little discs. And they said they never saw any discs in there. So Danny even had a video up on the YouTube, and I watched that, and sure enough, yeah, he took that apart. Let's talk about what we're gonna need for this job. I bought new bolts for the exhaust manifold. You need 8 of this, so a total of 8, and then you need 8 of these. The tools you're gonna need for this job are a 10mm socket, that will take care of this, an 11mm socket for these. You might want a little short extension, an 11mm open end so you can get to these little nuts on the back side. We'll take a look at that in a minute. And of course, a ratchet. So the first thing I'm gonna do is remove this shield here. That's that 10mm. You can use the open end if you want. That's just a heat shield. Has a washer. You can see that these are oversized washers, or, you know, not as far as the inside diameter. They're just more surface area, like a fender washer. And that's all there is to that. I think I can probably polish that up nicely. I will put these right back in the same holes that I took them out of. Thank you guys for subscribing. You know, don't forget to click the bell, because as you know, I'm going to be starting this car live, right? I'm going to try to start this car live on YouTube, at least as the making of this video. If I've already done it, I've already done it. But that's another reason why you guys should subscribe, because I'm not going to just stop after I rebuild this engine and put it in. You know, I've got a transmission that's coming. There's a lot of things I'm gonna do. The new top, a lot. So this will continue. So subscribe. All right, let's take a look at this. So to start with, that's all we've got is these two 11mm bolts. And then on the other side here, it looks like it consists of this little band, which I think is all about to be able to be flexible. But there's these square nuts, and that's the reason for the 10 millimeter. We can hold those. You can see it's quite a bit of rust actually. So I'm going to soak these in WD-40, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the other side, the left-hand side. Put some WD-40 on there, and I did the same thing to the other side. Right now I'm going to make note of where these are positioned in comparison to the numbers. You notice that the head of it is that way. So let's see just how hard this is. So far, not bad. I'm gonna try this one. Are you guys curious on what we're gonna find? You might want to change these out to stainless steel. Now we need to just spread those enough to be able to get those off. Normally I wouldn't take these apart. I'd just keep everything original. You know, I haven't painted even the valve covers. In this case, it's about protection. You know, this is cast iron, right? It's steel, it's gonna rust. It's already got rust here and there. These things rusted. So that's the only reason why I'm taking this apart, is I'd like to get it sandblasted and then give it some protection on it, that's all. So how would I open this up without killing myself? Well, you can kind of do it, but I think it's gonna be easier if you just take your bolt and put it on the backside to give you a little bit of leverage. Then you can just grab a hold of it, I think, with some pliers like this, and then open it up until the baby pops off. Just like that. So that's that one. Now this comes apart. We'll take a look at this. Definitely needs some cleaning. There's a little bit of rust on the inside. We'll see that in a minute. Let's try to take this one off. I think that the method worked. I might be able to do that without holding it with the other wrench. Let's see. Yep. Same thing. Now we'll pop that off, and there is some parts in here, guys. There's this that sits on the inside, just like that. What I see here is a seal ring. Darn it. There's a seal ring on both sides, and this is completely squished and no good. So what do they mean that they did this? Unfortunately, you just don't know. This is how you find out. So we got to find out if we can find these rings. You can see that that is a sealing ring made out of copper. So the manual's correct and the people on Facebook are not. I mean, you can't blame it on them, right? Someone took it apart. And once you've taken it apart, then you know. Especially if no one else has taken it apart. The manual shows this ring, even though everyone else says, oh, there was nothing there when I took it apart. That's because someone else has taken it apart, most likely. Like you've seen in my build, they forget things, they use the wrong size bolts, there's all kinds of things that they do wrong. And then if you follow their footsteps, a blind leading the blind. So you've really got to look at those manuals and trust the manual. You know, sometimes it's not correct, I get it. But this is a sealing ring. It's just a copper sealing ring. I think I should be able to source something like this. We already know the size of it. I mean, well, thickness is something, I don't know. We're gonna have to probably experiment now. To properly restore this, that's what we're gonna have to do. So the manual is right. Unfortunately, they don't list any part numbers or anything about this. And when you go to purchase this, the exploded view only shows this as a complete kit. And like I said, it's about $75 each. Before I take apart the other side of the exhaust manifold, I'm gonna verify I can get them and everything. I mean, it should be a common thing. I think this should be easy to find, but we'll find out. So just like the manual says, you've got this piece right here, which is this, right there. And then you've got the sleeve on the inside, which is this. So that goes in there like that. And then you have a sealing ring on each side, then your clamps. And that's all there is to it. So if you're gonna powder coat or all that kind of stuff, you can't powder coat that area. So let's see if I can get it sourced and then I'll continue. So these are the parts that make up that coupling. When we look for parts, this is what we get. And you know, they mix and match these exhaust manifolds because this is not how my exhaust manifold really looks like. It's not quite the same. But you can see number 41 there, as I mentioned earlier, comes only as a kit. You know, we can scroll down this thing and look, you can see there's just nothing here. It's just this kit, this repair kit. You know, so I was looking at this one other item here, this number 116. I see it, but as you'll see here, there is no 116. I posted into the Benz forum, and a guy over there said, you know, on the 560 SEL, I guess that's what he has, that there is an exploded view for the 116 part. So I pulled up the parts view for that, and it looks identical, right? These are identical. The kit number is also labeled as 41. They show it as a kit. But the 116 for this one here, if we scroll on down, now we have a part number. And you see this super inexpensive, whatever it is, we have no idea what this part is. So I ordered that part number, and I ordered 6 of these because you got 2 per side. And all we're gonna do is hope that what's inside here looks like this. And this is what I saw. Look at that, you guys. I thought that the width of it was not the same, but it appears that it is. It's just that the inside here part, this little inside part right here, had broken off because it got too hot and broke. So I can see that that width is pretty much the same. So let me take one of these out and we'll have a closer look. This is what it looks like. As far as thickness goes, I'd say it's the same. You can see thickness-wise, that's just fine. But I would say it's identical. And like I said, it looks like this is skinnier, same thing, like look at the other one. And that's because it got so hot because part of this is exposed to the exhaust and it got so hot that it broke off. But this part right here, between this, did not break off. I still have some copper still left there. And you can see that that is virtually identical in the width. Virtually identical. So now the question is, does it actually fit the components it needs to go into? That's a good question. Yes, it just fits in there perfectly. No problem. It works. Then it just seals to this, right? 10 to 1. No problem. I will do it this way just to see. Yes. You can see, guys, that this is going to work just great. There's your sealing ring. So now, maybe I might be the only person who is going to put together the exhaust manifold the same way it came apart. All right, so let's make note of the orientation of all the bolts, how they're laid out. For my own reference, I marked across this with some yellow on this side and some white on this side. And I even put a little red dot on each end cap, so I know that that's an end cap. I could do a couple of other things, but I think this is how we want to do it. We'll start taking it apart. Hopefully this comes apart as easy as the other one, and that I don't break one of these rings or something like that, or the inside's rusted. If I do, that is what it's going to cost me for each time I make a mistake. I grab my little Makita. I think that that's probably the best way. It's also the easiest way, but I think it's going to be the best way to pop these. I'll jump to the next one. There we go. It's really hard to get this. We get a different socket. The impact sockets are thick all the way down where this is a little bit narrower, so this will fit in here better. It's not that much torque, but I was having trouble fitting. Oops, luckily I caught it. All right, for this outside ring that I took out here, this is an outside ring for this side here. This is that real, look how clean that is. That paint still looks really good. So I'm gonna put that to the outside, not how it would normally be used, but that lets me know that that's the outside ring. And then this one I'll put on the inside, just like that. All right, so that's the outside and that's the inside. Can't mess that up. Let's see what we get on this. I see a copper ring in there. You can see it's kind of frozen on here, so we're gonna have to use some WD-40. Same thing with this thing, it doesn't want to turn, so I will squirt that. I can move on to the other side for now though. Let's grab this other side. It does actually help to put that in just like I did with the other side to give you some leverage because it's kind of tough. There we go. This is the outside clamp, so I will put the bolt in through the outside. Now let's grab that inside clamp. All right, and this one here will go on the inside. Same thing. This one here actually come off, so I got that one. And you can see how good that sealing ring and how important that really is. This one here is a little bit more intact. We might be able to actually see with a whole sealing ring, maybe. Yeah, you see how that splits? Because part of that ends up in the actual exhaust part of it, and it gets so hot that that copper breaks off. This is gonna take a little bit more work. I'm gonna put some WD-40, I'm gonna soak that. You can see there's like a little bit of rust right there. But you can see that seal ring, right? You got a good idea? You can see the whole seal ring fits that whole thing. Just like the ones we bought. All right, so I've squirted this with some WD-40. There we go. It'll come out. Could be because of that sealing ring. Maybe we can pop that off. It's ready to come out. I'm gonna see if I can pop that sealing ring off because I think it's catching. We might actually get a full, complete ring here to look at. We kind of have a ring. What do you know? Aha! Got it now. That's the ring. It's identical to those ones we purchased. All right, that's the little side. Now let's go over to this side right here. And I still got this thing to get out and a ring. See if I can get that sealing ring out. I don't care if I destroy the ring. There's that ring. That thing's still tough. Let's get a little bit more WD-40 inside there and we'll see what happens. There we go. I'm keeping everything the way that it came apart. I even wire tied it together. This side, you can still see the paint is still there. It looks really good. If both of them were this way, I probably would be okay with it. You know, I live in Arizona. We hardly have any humidity at all. But lately, it's the monsoon season right now. Right now in my garage, as I stand here, it's 105 degrees. I don't have my little space AC going today, but because I'm about ready to finish up right here. I'll be coming back to this. But I'm gonna be painting it with this, the high temp coating factory gray. That's for the exhaust manifold. It's a very, very, very close color. I think this is gonna be a great coating. Let's find out. But before I can coat it, I want to get this soaked so I can get rid of all the as best I can, get rid of the carbon and everything on the inside and the rust. I'll use a wire wheel all around each one of the flanges here. These surfaces are really nice and smooth already. It doesn't look like I need to do anything except just clean it a little bit. But make sure that there's no rust in here and clean up this whole surface. Then I'm gonna tape these off. All these flanges I'm gonna tape. And the same thing with the mating surfaces. I'm gonna tape those and then I'll sandblast it. This is what it looks like before being sandblasted. I mean, it's in great shape already. There's no rust. And this is what it looks like after. Now that I've got my oily hands on here, I'm going to be wiping all this down with lacquer thinner and everything before I attempt to paint it. It looks really good. I'll do some wire brush work around here and that's about it. These are all the manifolds, the different parts, for the left and the right. And you can see that I have these all wrapped up. After I was done, you guys know we're having a heat wave, right? So just the other day, it was 119 degrees, and our low, our low yesterday, I think, was 98 was our low. If you look, here's our instructions for the paint that I'm gonna be using. This is the Eastwood high temp coating. And you can see that, for best results, you wanna spray this between 65 and 85. Well, our low of 95 or 97 and 98 is way above that. So I'll have to wait a whole another month before I can do this probably. And you got to remember that's at 3 or 4 in the morning or something like that. So yeah, we're having one heck of a heat wave. So I thought, I think I might have a solution. Before I wrapped them up, I cleaned them off really well. Like I said, with brake clean as well as with solvents and everything, made sure these are just perfect. But then I want to make sure they're completely dry, so I put them then inside of my grill. And that registered at 300 degrees without even turning on the gas. That's just sitting out there in the yard. And I let it do that all day so I know it's completely dry. Plus our humidity is very low, below 20% humidity. So then I brought them in and I wrapped them all up. So these are all protected. And I'm gonna put these in a box. There's some sandpaper. We'll check it before we get ready to paint it. I got a little thing for my breathing. We're gonna tape the things off there, a rag to wipe it down with, and then the instructions there said acetone. I'm gonna put that in my box. I also have a couple of cans of brake clean. Hopefully all I need is 1 can. I'm also gonna put a tack cloth in my box. In addition to the exhaust manifolds, I'm going to put these 2 heat shields in the box. I have an X-Acto knife and a couple of sponges. I'm going to put this in my box. I'm going to put this mag aluminum polish and that in the box. So there they are, they're all painted. I'm sorry that I didn't show you me painting them. It's not that it matters. I was out here at 6 a.m. It was 83 degrees. And I have 3 light coats of paint. Now they recommend you wait 24 hours before you continue. They're dry already. It came out beautiful, no runs or anything like that. I did 3 light coats. So while my exhaust manifolds are drying with their paint, I went ahead and started cleaning these up. So this is a before and an after. Can you tell which one's a before and which one's an after? I'm just using a little sponge, that, and just buffing it off with a white rag. Just like that. It's not perfect. I don't expect to make it perfect. All I wanted to do was clean off the oxidation as best that I could, remove some small scratches that were on there, and that's about it. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this one up. So this is what it looks like after. Looks pretty good. A little bit of this. So if we want a before and after, this is the after, and that's the before. You see this color's quite similar. Of course, this is a really nice finish. I've taken all the tape off. Now we're ready to start assembling this. Can you believe that it's 6 o'clock in the morning right now? It's 99 degrees in my garage. I'm just dripping with sweat and everything else, and it's very, very, very difficult to work out here. And within the next hour, it's gonna be 110 and then 115. And yes, through the weekend, it's gonna be 116 every day. So it is quite hot here, and it's really slowing me down. But let me get the clamp and the other half of this, and let's start assembling this. All right, so this is everything that's required for the right exhaust manifold. I've already cleaned everything. You got the little nuts sitting on here. I got my copper washers. Just like before, we need a 10 millimeter, 11 millimeter socket, and 11 millimeter open end and a ratchet. If you look closely, this could be slightly pitted. Mine is slightly pitted. Now I've cleaned this as best I can, but that's why the copper ring is important. You're not gonna get a perfect seal. If you have an environment that rusts, it's probably a lot worse. So I would recommend that if you take this apart, don't forget to replace these seals. This is a picture of the manual that we discussed before. I contacted the SL shop, told me good luck. But we also know that we figured it all out. We may be the only one that's actually putting this together properly. These are not magnetic, so I don't know exactly what material this is made out of. These are, obviously. This too is not magnetic. What about these? No, this is not magnetic. The bolt is. So these should not rust. So I don't know what it's made out of. I feel like, obviously, when you look at this, you'd say it's anodized. It looks like none of this should rust. So the sole purpose of this copper washer is for sealing, not for preventing rust like I thought. I thought possibly it would protect this from rusting, but obviously that's not the case. On this, you can see there's a line. Right? That's where they sealed this thing together. It's almost like it's been welded or soldered. That was pointing towards the engine block or the port, the exhaust port. And what I want to do is I'm going to take a yellow marker for fun, and I'm going to line up that bottom one, and then I'm just going to mark like that. That's just for my own reference, because that's how it came off. I'm just gonna try to put it on the same exact way. So all we do is just place it, line up your line. This nut right here will face that way, away from the nut here, just like that. Push that thing down there. I'll squeeze her together and just put the nut in there temporarily. Now I have not tightened it, it's loose. You don't want too much on here because you don't want to crush your ring. The next thing we're going to do is put this sleeve in. And our copper ring, the other half. And then this one the same way. I'm just talking this out in my head, you know, I'm not trying to be instructional. Because believe me, I would do this 2 or 3 times if I didn't talk it out. You guys, it's already over 100 degrees. I think it's 103 degrees in my garage right now. And I have my air conditioner on in between takes. You know, it's too loud during the video. So all I'm gonna do, I think today, is just assemble both of these manifolds, and I'm gonna create a new video for installing. I'm already a half an hour into it, I'm sure. So let me get this nut in here. You definitely wanna do this on a flat surface to try to get everything lined up. So these things here line up with these numbers, just a little bit above the numbers, but what I've noticed, it's flat this way, so it's not down there, it's not up here, these bolts, they're flat. I bet you if this was one complete manifold made out of this cast steel like this, that it would break under heat. There's just no doubt about it. So that's what that's for, is for when things flex. You got aluminum heads and everything, so things are flexing. We'll get this all bolted down first. Then we'll do a final tighten on these. So this is everything that consists of the left manifold. And if you'll notice, the EGR valve here is opposite of your exhaust coming down. So as long as you have this facing away from that, you've got your orientation right. Here's your rings, and I've already pre-marked these with the yellow line just to make it easier. The right clamps for the right sides. Let's go ahead and assemble it. Everything's exactly the same way. Your bolts will be facing away from this. So let's go ahead, I'll start with the EGR side. That way there we know we've got everything right. Again, you've got your seam, and that seam will go down. Your copper ring. Now your clamp with your nut facing away from this, and the nut faces down. And again, don't tighten it, just make it so the things don't fall apart. Good enough. Everything's loose. See, I put a little dot on there too to make sure I do it right. Can you believe it? Again, the nut goes towards the bottom. You guys realize we're having a heat wave. The entire month of July was 110 or above. And we set several records for having the hottest month ever in history. Our maximum high 106 or 119, a couple or 3 days of that. And now they're telling me we're gonna be 116 pretty much for the whole next entire week. So that's why all I wanna do is get this together, and we'll come back and install it so I can do a short video. It takes me a while to set everything up. It's already 108 degrees in my garage right now. And in between takes, I actually have my air conditioner running. It cannot keep up with this heat. So, and our lows are in the upper 90s. So like I say, I come out to my garage and my garage doesn't get to the low. It starts out at over 100. So I cannot continue to work like this. There you go. You can see that they're still loose. Everything's loose. You can move it any way you want. So let's bring it over to the next one here. Again, the seam is going to face the bottom. That's how it came out. Again, I got a little yellow dot. And you notice I had the yellow dot on the outside here? That tells me where it goes, right? There we go. Again, the nut faces that way. Get our line where we need it, about like that. Again, I'm not tightening it down. You want these things to still be able to move. And there's your basic assembly of the left exhaust manifold. The only other things we have are these heat shields, which I'm not going to install until after this is installed. So that's it, they're ready to be installed now. This is the left side, this is the right side. That's how I did it, you guys. You know, I'm sorry I did not install it today. We'll just do a real quick video on the installation part of it. Just make this a recondition. Thanks for watching.